While the Phoenix Suns were busy crapping their pants in Game 7 of the Dallas Mavericks series, nobody on that team looked like they wanted to be there. But out of all the Phoenix players, DeAndre Ayton by far made it the most clear that he did not want to play for the Phoenix Suns a minute longer, as in only 17 minutes in Game 7, the team's starting center only put up 5 points, and after demanding and getting refused a max contract extension in the previous offseason, DeAndre Ayton has made it abundantly clear that he does not want to play for Phoenix anymore. So this brings up the question, if the Suns are not going to pay him, and they have made it pretty clear at this point that they do not intend to, where is he going to go? And if you ask me, I think there is a very clear, easy, and obvious trade for DeAndre Ayton in the form of the Utah Jazz star center Rudy Gobert. Let me explain why this trade is not only perfect for both players involved, but for both teams. DeAndre Ayton doesn't want to be in Phoenix, alright? He has made that abundantly clear, and honestly, I think he's justified in it. The Phoenix Suns, for years now, have used him in a way that does not maximize his talents. It maximizes the benefit of the team. Under Monty Williams, this Suns team has made the finals once and led the league in wins another year. They have been absolutely phenomenal, choking against the Dallas Mavericks aside. But DeAndre Ayton has not gotten the chance to really show what he can do. I and many others have been saying for the last 2 years that if Ayton played for another team, he would probably be making all-star teams and putting up more than 20 points a game. But in Phoenix, he's mostly used as a pick-and-roll guy and a great finisher at the rim, and not a primary offensive weapon. This has made Ayton upset, and not only has it hurt his stats, but it has hurt his monetary value, as in the eyes of Phoenix, he is not worth giving a max contract, and therefore he wants out. He feels he deserves the money, and I gotta be honest, I don't disagree with him. If he was playing somewhere else, he'd probably be putting up good enough numbers that you could argue you have to give him that kind of money, but here in Phoenix, he's just not getting the recognition he deserves. Meanwhile, Rudy Gobert, for years now, has been one of, if not the, most disrespected star players in the NBA. This man absolutely carries the defensive end of his Utah Jazz team. He should have won Defensive Player of the Year this year, tying him for the most DPOYs all time, in my opinion, but he didn't because he just doesn't get respect from the fans. All of that choke against the Clippers is placed on him for absolutely no reason a few years ago. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, the Utah Jazz lost against the Los Angeles Clippers without Kawhi Leonard a few years ago now, and Rudy Gobert got blamed because he got pulled out of the paint and the Clippers killed him with three-pointers, even though it was, number one, his coach who told him to stay in the paint, and number two, he has to stay in the paint because the rest of his team sucks so much butt at perimeter defense that they just let their opponents get open driving lanes all night if Gobert is not there to cover for their asses. You need Gobert on that team for them to be anything more than a completely atrocious defense. And yet despite this, Jazz fans, and especially general NBA fans, do not give the man the respect he deserves. He is not viewed as a proper all-star. He is not viewed as the absurdly good defender that he is, and I think he deserves better. I think Rudy Gobert deserves to play on a team where he is going to get the respect he deserves for his incredible defense, and Phoenix is that team. You add him in DeAndre Ayton's place. He can give you similar offensive production to what the Suns need because they don't need a scorer. They don't need DeAndre Ayton's ability to score on his own. What they need is a great lob finisher and screen setter, and that is exactly what Rudy Gobert is. No, he's not much of a scoring threat on his own, but when you're playing with this incredible Phoenix offense with a bunch of young developing players, you don't need him to be. You just need the defense, the screen assists, and the lob catching. He is a perfect fit there in Phoenix, and if you give DeAndre Ayton the max contract, all you gotta do is do a straight up swap for a player who, to a smart GM, with the Phoenix Suns clearly have, is clearly worth that max. You can make a case for DeAndre Ayton not being worth the money, but Rudy Gobert, if you have a brain, the man is worth the money he's getting paid. As much as the casuals want to pretend he isn't, the dude is an incredible defensive player and has a massive impact for winning on any team you place him on. Meanwhile, for the Utah Jazz, they get younger. Ayton is 6 years younger than Gobert. He can be the long-time big man partner for Donovan Mitchell on this team. In the short term, they maximize their offense. They can be an even better offensive team than they just were. Yes, their defense suffers, but clearly with all the terrible perimeter defenders on the Jazz, they weren't going to win with their defense anyway, no matter how good Rudy Gobert was. In the long term, you now have two key pieces to build around instead of just one. So as their aging role players leave the team and they sign more free agents, they can now build around two guys instead of just Mitchell, because the fear with Gobert, aside from the fact that, there were all the things about how maybe they don't get along and his offensive issues, all that stuff, the fear was that his timeline and Donovan Mitchell's did not align. Rudy Gobert was going to start aging out of stardom as Donovan Mitchell came into his peak, and as a result, you were not going to be able to maximize this duo. DeAndre Ayton does not have that problem. You have now killed two birds with one stone. Two potentially unhappy players, one we know is unhappy, both go to new teams. They get the respect that they deserve on these new teams, hopefully, knock on wood, and both teams improve in some ways. Phoenix gets a little bit better defensively, Utah really improves on offense and gets younger. I think this is a perfect trade for both sides. DeAndre Ayton gets his money, everyone leaves happy. So if I am the head of either the Jazz or the Suns, the other team is the one who I am calling up to make this trade. I think it's about as simple as it gets. You pay DeAndre Ayton in a sign-and trade, swap the two players, you don't have to worry about picks, you don't have to worry about any other teams getting involved, none of that more complicated bullcrap. Just do a straight swap for players with very similar salaries and make everybody happy.